notice that for some people, animal rights isn't just another issue. It feels deeper than that, almost like something fundamental. And if you don't feel that way, it can be hard to understand why, because the pushback makes sense. People will often say, we have human suffering to deal with first. Poverty, war, inequality. So why focus on animals? That's a fair question. But for a lot of people, animal liberation isn't separate from those issues. It's one of the clearest examples of how a society decides whose suffering counts and whose suffering can be ignored. Part of why it feels so big is the scale. According to Our World in Data, tens of billions of land animals are killed every year for food. And in places like the US, the overwhelming majority are raised in factory farming systems. So the question starts to shift. It's not really about whether animals are the same as humans. It's something more basic. Philosopher Peter Singer put it really clearly. If a being can suffer, what makes that suffering not matter? And that idea matters because most of the ways we regularly rank beings, like intelligence, language, or usefulness to us, don't actually change whether something or someone can feel pain. And once you take that seriously, it starts to challenge a lot of the things we treat as normal. There's actually an older idea behind this that we still haven't fully moved past. Historians call it the great chain of being, the idea that life is arranged in a hierarchy. Humans above animals, animals above everything else. And the higher you are, the more you matter. That idea sounds outdated, but you can still see that logic in how we treat animals today. Not explicitly, but in the assumption that they're below us, their suffering counts less, or doesn't count at all. And once you start looking at the system around this, it stops being just about animals. Groups like Human Rights Watch have documented how dangerous meatpacking work can be, especially under pressure to maximize production. Public health research from places like Johns Hopkins has shown how industrial farming can affect nearby communities through pollution and environmental exposure. And the CDC links animal agriculture to broader concerns, like antimicrobial resistance, or the overuse of antibiotics in farming can impact human health too. So what looks like one issue starts to connect to a much larger system, where harm is spread out across animals, workers, and communities, and often kept out of view. That's why some researchers argue that this isn't a fringe concern. For example, Emilia Lees, writing in the Animal Studies Journal, argues that animal agriculture is deeply tied to broader systems of exploitation, not just of animals, but of workers, environments, and public health. You don't have to agree with every conclusion, but once you see the structure behind it, it stops looking like just an animal issue and starts looking like a deeper question. What kinds of suffering are we willing to build normal life on top of? And how do we decide what counts as suffering at all? Hi, I'm Hassan Pirbai. If you liked this video, please consider following, sharing, or subscribing. It would really help out my channel. Ciao.